Hi, it's Rebecca. Have you figured out yet that there are two worlds forming? This has been talked about for a long time. It goes back to ancient civilizations, it goes back to prophecies that were made by Hopis, Mayans, Egyptians, Atlantis. Kind of knew about all that. Everybody has talked about this over eons. Dolores Cannon, when I read her books, and she told stories of all the people she had regressed that talked about being called to come here at this time and incarnate when they were in the spiritual dimension. The call went out, and people know that this is the time of the Great Awakening. And what are these two worlds that are forming? Well, as I told my last husband after we got married, I could see clearly something was coming down the road. And I said, Michael, it's time. There's a line being drawn in the sand. What side are you on? Um, he didn't really get it, but I've always felt this. Back in the early 70s, when I started studying the works of George Gurdjieff, and he explained in his writings how the world is full of upside down thinkers, people that are disconnected from their souls, and how you have to really work to connect with your soul, your higher self. I began to do the work because I really didn't like the swing of the pendulum, the highs and the lows of living just in the three-dimensional world. I decided it was time to do some work. And as I moved along, I was shown things, and more was revealed to me about these times that we're living in. I've had dreams of things that were coming down the road, some of them not so good. I'll get into that another time. But what I want to talk about today is these two worlds that are forming. You can call it many different things: the self centered people and the other centered people. I think the Law of One talks a lot about that. I haven't really read the Law of One in depth, but I have checked out some of the things that it's about. It's very spiritual, and it explains why we're moving into this higher dimension called the fifth dimension, where things are different from just living in the three-dimensional world. When you're just living in the three-dimensional world, you don't have the intuition, the insights, the spiritual sense to give you a bigger picture. You're trapped, basically. And I know that feeling. I was trapped in my human mortal body up until my mid 20s when I finally broke free. And I would call it an awakening. I tapped into the much bigger, more expansive, eternal me that could instantly heal myself, see things more clearly, have a lot more intuition and perception about what was going on. I could see below the surface. All of a sudden, when I watched the news, I could see where they were like robots that were just giving us information that wasn't necessarily true. I began to understand that if there's a big event happening on the planet, there's usually another story that you're not hearing about what really went on. A lot of things are like that. Very few things, by the time they're filtered through all the people and we finally get it in the news, is not the way it was, really. I learned that a long time ago. But getting back to these two worlds, if you want to live in the world of the three-dimensional world, you're going to be limited. You might even get very upset. You might get depressed. You might be full of anxiety because you don't have any solutions. You're just looking at doom and gloom. And nobody's ever telling you when we're going to snap out of this decline that we're in, as far as not being able to connect with other people, travel, run our businesses. Do you get vaccinated? Don't you get vaccinated? Well, when you're stepping into the other world, the fifth dimensional world, the Christ consciousness world, where you get the answers, you have a better ability to discern and make decisions based on how you feel about it. If it doesn't feel right, you're not going to do it. If it doesn't feel right, you're going to go away from it, walk away from it, try something else. and you're optimistic that it will ultimately work out, because you also know that not only are you, your physical being, operating in this world, but you're connected. You're connected to higher intelligence, to the Godhead, to source energy, whatever you want to call it. And that infinite intelligence can guide you. It can lift you out of bad situations. It can help you to bring your message to the world if you have a message, or it can make you more creative. It can help you to tap into your innate talents. We're all born with some sort of talent. We might be able to bake really fabulous cakes, or we might be great parents, or, we might be discovering the next best thing for the planet. You never know what your talent is until you start to go within and really follow the trail of what makes you feel really good when you're doing it. Then you're living more in the fifth dimension. And as I said, there are two worlds forming, and more, these people that are living in strictly the three-dimensional world do not understand what the people who have awakened to this multi-dimensional universe that we're living in, and solutions, and ways that we can function to live life in a more harmonious flow way. They don't get each other. The gap is going to get wider and wider and wider. So I'm just telling you this because after I had that awakening in my 20s, I've tried to share it with other people that you don't have to be stuck in your limited three-dimensional thinking. You can break out. And it usually comes after you've gone through a lot of pain, the dark night of the soul. But the whole world is in the dark night of the soul now. So there is a possibility that you could step off of the matrix, go into the fifth dimension, wake up, and be part of that world. And it's a much better world to be living in right now.